Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Football Rig, here where we discuss everything related to Arsenal, everything that is related to the transfer market, match analysis, watch-alongs, and you name it. To be honest, I slept all day. That's not the norm to me that I sleep all day and I woke up at night. So I decided to make this video after seeing a lot of news that is related to the transfer market. It's very intense market for Arsenal. They need to really take it very seriously if they want to show some seriousness in winning this league, and especially after the injury of Bukayo Saka, which is a big blow for Arsenal, and they need to reinforce the attacking positions, if either it's in the wing side or center forward. I think Arsenal really need to do their due diligence during this transfer market. So let's jump into it right away. As you saw in the beginning of the video, the picture, we are going to talk about feasible or possible targets that Arsenal can obtain during the January market. So Matthijs Kuna, Nicky Williams, Mohamed Kudus, and Mbuo. We're going to break them down in terms of stats, injury record, and also their transfer value. So let's jump right into it. So first player I would like to discuss is Matthijs Kuna. He's a 25 years old Brazilian who plays for Wolves. I've watched this player a couple of times. He's a decent player. But do you think, is it because he's playing in a mediocre to a low tier team, which is Wolves? They are battling for the relegation zones, and maybe that's why we're seeing him that he's thriving and he's like the star of the group. But in terms of stats, okay, let's scroll down. We can see here that he scored 10 goals in 19 games and 4 assists. It's a not bad GA output for a player in the Premier League in general, to be honest. But as I said, I have my doubts and I have my reservations with this player. I've watched him a couple of times. Last time I watched him was against Man United. He played very well against Man United. He really did. He nailed them. He showed them who's the boss in the pitch. But when it comes to can he step up? Because if you are playing in a mediocre team, right, like Wolves, or battling, let's say, a relegation team, and you move to any big club like Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, then you need to step up. The question is, can he step up? Can he go the next level? Can he set the bar a little bit higher? Because competing in Arsenal or Chelsea or Liverpool or even Man City is not the same as playing for Wolves. The expectations is different. The pressure is different. This club is battling for relegation. This club is battling for the Premier League. So the question always stays that can he step up, right? That's my question to Matthijs Kuna. In terms of value, we can see here from the transfer market that he's valued around 50 mil. It could be a little bit higher to convince Wolves to release him during the January window. But for 50 mil, I think that's a fair price for in this time and age, especially now everything is expensive. You know, you can hear 100 million is nothing nowadays. So 50 mil sounds like a decent, reasonable price for a outstanding player like Matthijs Kuna. But again, so let's see here where he played mostly in the pitch. So as you can see here, he played 11 games as an attacking midfield and 3 games as second striker. To be honest, for me, both roles falls under the same category. That's just me. So I would consider those as 14 games as an attacking midfield, or you want to call them a creative midfield, second striker, whatever you want to call it, whatever term you want to use. For me, they say they occupy the same space in the pitch. As you can see here, look, what is the difference between here and here, man? It's just a couple of centimeters, so it's not like a big difference. But when it comes to something that what we're saying that he's versatile, right? But the stats does not really show that. He played only one game as a right winger and 1 game as a left winger. So the versatility part to me is not proven. And I haven't seen him play in the left or right for that matter. So it's very difficult to say that this player is versatile on the pitch. It's very difficult to say that statement or to state it for that matter. So 50 mil for Kuna, decent. Is it what Arsenal really needs? Is it what Arsenal gonna take Arsenal to the next level? Is he gonna help the Arsenal team to win the Premier League? I really highly doubt it, to be honest. I highly doubt that. So let's move on to the next player. At the end of the video, of course, I'm gonna tell you my opinion and which players from those I would personally take in my team, in Arsenal, I mean. So let's see, Matthijs Kuna. Okay, we're gonna go to the next player, Nicky Williams. Nicky Williams, he's 22 years old. He's still young. He's still developing. His main position is the left wing, where we struggled a lot. We are playing there mostly Martinelli, and Martinelli, to be honest, in the past 2 years, he's been falling off a cliff. I couldn't see him getting back to the Martinelli we knew, and having him on 180,000 pound per week, that's huge. That's a huge number in terms of salary and wages for Martinelli, to be honest, especially with this poor performance in the past 2 seasons. So Nicky Williams, he's valued at 70 million euros, but I heard there's a release clause for 50 mil. So, but my issue with Nicky Williams is the following. In terms of player, he's outstanding. I've watched him with Spain during the Europe League. He was phenomenal in that Spanish team. Really, he's one of the main reasons that Spain won that tournament, and nobody can deny that. Nobody can deny how wonderful and how strong this player is, how fast he is, how impactful he's really. He can add up. He can add a value to an impact instantly in any team in the Premier League, and nobody can tell me otherwise. Especially in that left department. In the right department, nobody can argue that Salah is the best right now, but from the left side, I don't see anybody that can beat this kid. In terms of stats, you can see that he played how many games so far? He played 17 games. His output was not as good. He has only 1 goal and 3 assists in the La Liga, and for the Europa League, he played 6 games and scored only 1. So his output is not promising, at least for this season. It's not really promising. In terms of positions that he played 16 games in the left wing, 4 in the left midfield, which is same to me. So basically, he is all in all a left winger. He played only 1 game as a right winger, so again, the versatility part, I don't think it's an option here. He's purely a left winger. So will this solve the left side of Arsenal? It's a very good question. It's a very strong question, because we've been suffering in that side of the pitch. We've been suffering badly. We tried Trossard there. We tried Martinelli, and so far they're not stepping up. To be honest, they're not stepping up, and I don't like that side of the pitch from Arsenal. So I think Nicky Williams will be a great addition to the team. The problem is with this player, aside of the release clause, right? The release clause, let's assume it's 50 mil or 70 mil, as the transfer market here says, is his commitment. We know that this player wants to play for Barcelona, and Barcelona currently are struggling with registering their current players, so I don't see them buying or going for any players for the short term, at least. So it's a matter of commitment. Does he really want to move from his current club to any club, for that matter, and to Arsenal in specific? It's a matter of commitment, and if you are gonna try to convince a player to play for you, I wouldn't say that's a good choice, right? Because you don't want to over discuss that this is your plan, this is the project that you have, and the player's like, I'm thinking about it and all that stuff, but this shows lack of commitment. You're just like, piss off. If you don't want to be part of it, just piss off. We can find somebody else. For any club will do the same. Nobody wants a player that he doesn't want to play in the game. So Nicky Williams, for me, he's a good player. I would sign him, but it's a matter of commitment from the player. Does he really want to move? Moving on to Mohamed Kudus. Mohamed Kudus, he's 24 years old. So in terms of age profile, all 3 players that we just saw, Kuna, Williams, and Kudus, they're hovering in this almost the same era or the same age, which is between 22 to 25. So in terms of age profile, they're excellent. So there's no question about or risk about having somebody who's at the end of his career or something. So he's valued around 50 mil, but I think it's going to be much higher. to convince West Ham to release a good player from their side, especially during the January transfer window, and it's not even the summer. In terms of goal tally, in the Premier League, he played 14 games. He scored 3 and assisted in 1. And then in the EFL, he played 2 games and assisted in 1. So again, in terms of output, GA, it doesn't seem like he's been doing very well this season, Mohamed Kudus. In terms of versatility, he played on the left wing 9 games and the right wing 5 games and the left midfield around 2 games. So I would say mostly he played the left wing this season, but you can see a decent number of games that he played on the right wing, and sometimes he played in center forward, especially in the last season. I saw Kudus playing in multiple positions in the attacking sides, in terms of right, in the center, and also in the left. So the versatility is there for Kudus. And this is the type of player that Mikel Arteta prefers, because he likes the player to be versatile. He doesn't like a player that sticks into one position and that's where he thrives. We saw that with every player that he has. He has Trossard. He played him in several positions. Havertz the same. The only players that are actually got stuck in their position is Saka and maybe Odegaard. Even Declan Rice is moving him from between the 8 and the 6. So Arteta always prefers to have that kind of options to use, depending on the availability of his player, depending on his formation and his plan, whatever he wants to execute. So Kudus could be a go-to for Arteta. He's versatile. I think the price will be a little bit higher than 50 mil. I think it's gonna be around 70 to 80 mil. For West Ham to actually accept or approves that kind of that transfer from their side. From my side, I think he's a good player. I've watched him several times in West Ham during this season and also the previous season. But my concern about him, he is not consistent. He is not consistent. At one game, you can see him, he's almost like Maradona. And the other game, you see him, he's like a freaking, I don't know. Who's a bad player? Give me a name of a bad player. I have no names in top of my head right now. So yeah, sometimes he plays very, very well. And sometimes he doesn't do anything, to be honest. He's just there. He's running around, but without any impact or any influence in the game or any effectiveness. So yes, this is my thoughts about Kudus. Let's move on to the last player, Mbuo. So Mbuo is a 25 years old Cameroonian international. His price is estimated around 50 mil as well. A decent price. But is he a decent player? He played so far 19 games. And he scored 11 games. He scored 11 goals and 2 assists in those 19 games. In the EFL, he played 3 games and he only assisted in 1. So in terms of output this season, he's doing very well. 11 goals in 19 games is a very, very strong tally, I would say. And regarding possessions, he played mostly on the right wing, as you can see here. 11 games on the right wing, 6 games in the center forward, second striker 1 time, on the right midfield 4 times. So mostly he's on the right side, I would say, in the majority of his games. And he played several games in center forward. I didn't watch him much, and he wouldn't be my first choice, in my opinion. For me, maybe this season is one of those seasons that, sometimes a player does a lot in one season. And there are several players over the years in the Premier League that we watched that is very similar, like Mishu, I think was his name. He was, I think, a Swansea player. In one season, he was scoring a lot. I can't remember the season, but I recall that he was a phenomenal player that year, and then he disappeared. I think he played for Swansea City. I think Mbuo is having one of those seasons. I think Mbuo is having one of those seasons where he's trying to not trying. He actually is performing very well, but I don't think he can replicate this kind of output or impact in any other club, or even replicate in the same club, but season in and season out. I don't think he's consistent enough to consider this output to be his norm. This is my thoughts of it. So yeah, This is what we have, those four players. Of course, there are plenty of players that they are in the market that I would like, but I find them very difficult and very hard to go for, like Victor Gyökeres, like Osimhen, even Rodrigo from Real Madrid, and those players are the top players at the moment. Even Isak, right? Isak is around 150 mil, 150 million pound. I don't think Arsenal are willing to pay that amount, and especially now that the Newcastle is challenging for the Champions League spots. And this is one of the things that Isak wanted, is to play for a club that is playing in the Champions League. So if Newcastle manages to qualify to the Champions League next year, I don't think it will be easy to convince him to get out of it. The Saudis are ambitious there. They have a plan, and they want to take Newcastle to win trophies. I don't think the Saudis bought Newcastle just for the sake of it or for fun. I think they are very serious owners. I think they want to win trophies, and if they start selling their top players, I don't see that matching with their goals. So I don't think it's an easy target to go for Isak. Victor Gyökeres, Sporting Lisbona has several times stated that there's no chance for Victor Gyökeres to leave during the winter market. Maybe in the summer we would go for him, but I highly doubted that he would be able to leave during January. So we have Victor Gyökeres, we have Isak. This is the top, I would say, strikers currently in the market around the world, and it's not gonna be easy for any club to get them. And I don't think it's even possible, even in the even slimmer chance in winter that you winter market or January transfer market, that you'll be able to take them. So staying in the realm of possibilities, the four players we discussed, I think those are more easily to obtain compared to Victor Gyökeres and Isak. And for me personally, if I had the choice of those four players that we discussed, which is Matthijs Kuna, Nicky Williams, and Mohamed Kudus and Mbuo, I would go for Nicky Williams. I think Nicky Williams is a strong player. He's impactful. He's a profile that Arsenal been craving and wanting for quite some time. We don't have this kind of pacey winger who's just taking. He prefers to always take over their players rather than just passing it or cutting inside. I think Nicky Williams is that player. We are missing the dribble guy. So Martinelli lost a mile of pace, so that's why we're not seeing him as he used to be. So Nicky Williams for me would be my go away, or the guy I would try to sign and during the January transfer market. The second from that list would be Matthijs Kuna, because I think it's also a market of opportunity. Do you think Wolves will release their top player during the January transfer market while they're battling in the relegation? I highly doubt it. Atletico Bilbao, let's see where they're sitting in the Spanish league. I haven't looked at that part where Spanish league table. Let's just look at it quickly. So Atletico Bilbao is sitting fourth currently. They might not. Let me see how many points. 36 points. Yeah, they are battling for the Champions League positions or Champions League spots, but I don't see them winning the league. So it could be easier to convince Nicky Williams, to be honest, because they're always the preference to the selling club to sell outside their league. They don't want to strengthen their direct competitors or their direct clubs that are facing them in their own league. So I think the Atletico Bilbao club will prefer to sell to an English club rather than a Spanish club. This is my thoughts as well. This is why I would go for Nicky Williams. There's a high risk, of course, as I said, that the player could not adapt to the Premier League. We've seen that a lot. But in this transfer market, Arsenal needs to have one of those. If I recall that transfer market, it was a January transfer market, and it was Andrea Arshavin. I think it was 2009, 2008, if I can recall. Yeah, Euro 2008. This is where Arshavin really thrived in that league, and Arsenal went and bought him for 20-ish mil, and Arshavin was a huge impact right away. And I think we need one of those transfer markets where you just buy a player and he's good to go. We don't want a development player. We don't want a project player. We want a player who will hit the ground and run. We're just going to pay the cash and just freaking run and score goals. And when you buy an attacking player, this is what you expect from him. You expect from him to score goals by all means. I don't want a player to wait for him and start developing him and wait for him to adapt to the play or all that stuff. So you need a superstar. Arsenal at the moment need a superstar, need a player that can elevate them to the next level, need a player that can impact their season, increase their score tally. As I said in the beginning of the video, we have a huge blow and a huge injury crisis that Bukayo Saka is not there for the team for the next 2 months. So you need a player that can help you in that department. Now with Williams, he stated several times that he's waiting for Barcelona, and you know the impact or influence when you are a player like him and you want to move to Barcelona. We've seen this before, right? We've seen it with Rafinha when he was in Leeds United. Arsenal came for him, and then there was a battle between Arsenal and Chelsea. You want to call it a bidding war, call it a bidding war, but I wouldn't say that because the player bluntly told both clubs to piss off, and he wanted to move to Barcelona. And I hope Nicky Williams' case is not the same. I really do. I really do that he's open and willing to join another club that is outside the Spanish league. And I think Arsenal is the best club for him at the moment because the club has ambition, has a plan, and we are just few players away from being, you know, a very strong team in Europe, and we can compete in all fronts and in the Premier League and in the cups and also in the Champions League. All right, that's it from my side. That's my thoughts. I would go for Nicky Williams. I would put my money on it, and if the money is there and we can go for another player, why not? We can go for Nicky Williams and Matthijs Kuna. I would say both will cost us around 100 mil. It's better than smacking a 100 or 150 mil to Isak or Eucharist, and then they're not doing very well. So for me, Nicky Williams, that's my first choice. Then Matthijs Kuna, then Kudus, and then Mbuo. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. Like and subscribe the video. Welcome again to the Football Rig.